Victoria City Expats Club is a non-profit social organisation and our speakers are volunteers. The club as such assumes no responsibility or liability for the professional reputation of or the quality of services provided by the speaker today.
Words and music. Now, we had a Words and Music last week, which was wonderful. Brian came and he was wonderful, and there was actually live singing. But this is a Words and Music without singing. Well, not live singing. So, I'm actually looking forward to this because Michael's a friend of mine. I'm actually looking forward to getting to know him better and finding out more about his colourful history. So, when we were preparing for this, he actually said he was like Canadian Poet of the Year one year. International Poet of the Year. I've been selling you short. So, wow, you know, award-winning international. It's not too often we have anybody here who's won anything other than a chook raffle. So, it's good to have Michael here. And he's involved in so many interesting things like musicals and videos and on and on. So, I'll let Michael McIsaac come up here and tell the Michael McIsaac story. So, a big PCEC welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Are there any Canadians in the house? Holy smoly, we've got Canadians everywhere. We're taking over, you know that. We've decided to come to Pattaya and we're going to take over. Canadians have a tendency to do that. Everywhere we go, we decide to just move in and quietly take over. So, welcome Canadians, and welcome everybody. And I'd like to thank Ren today for inviting me.
Don't thank me yet, it's not over.
When you throw tomatoes, I will duck. So today, I'd like to give a little brief history about from where I'm from. I'm Canadian, but I'm from a very unique place called Newfoundland. Everybody knows Newfoundland? Okay, we're an island in the Atlantic, very, very remote, distant. I grew up in a very small village, and this village is 250 people. We were completely isolated. When I say isolated, we had to take a boat to get anywhere that was remotely civilized, for instance. And as part of that, growing up in a very small village of 250 people in an isolated community, you get accustomed to not having the finer things of life, so to speak. So as a very isolated community, the only thing we actually had was music, we had art, and from that community, there was just an incredible amount of talent. I'm not saying that I'm talented or anything, but it develops and fosters a talent base which is very unusual for very small communities. So I think one of the things that I looked at as a child growing up was the ability to read as much as possible. We had a floating library who used to visit us once a year, and you get as many books as you possibly could. So that was that's a little bit about where I'm from, and my experience in life has brought me to this place called Pattaya. Many friends of mine are Canadian who live here in Thailand, and they kept saying to me, when you retire, you should come to Thailand. So I said, yeah, let me go experience this. So almost a year, I come here and I said, I'm never leaving. I'm not going back to cold and 832 centimeters of snow. Can anybody realize 832 centimeters of snow? So, needless to say, Pattaya is going to be my home from here on in, because I'm not going to experience 832 centimeters of snow anymore. not even part of what I would like to do. So some of the things that I've been involved in over my career as a teacher, my beginnings were as an art education teacher. And studying with at a Nova Scotia College of Art and Design, I was able to foster an appreciation for the arts, so to speak. And all around me was music, art, and very, very interesting people. So from that career, I was able to expand and become a visiting professor at a number of universities. Memorial University in St. John's, Newfoundland, and McGill University in Montreal, and developed art education curriculum for these universities. And I found that the art world is a very cruel place to be in. It's, as a working artist, being able to create art that people would buy and that galleries would buy from you is a horrible place to be in as an artist. So I had to do a career change. And I looked at a number of different opportunities, and some of the opportunities I looked at was commerce. I decided to go back to school, got a Bachelor of Commerce, and entered into the world of business. Now the business was directly associated with the art field, mostly in video production, with music production. So for me, as a writer, as an artist, I found that was a very good fit, because one of the things that I could look at and do was to be able to create my music, create my art, create the videos that I've worked on. So this is some of the things that has brought me full circle in life, to be able to understand who I am as an artist, to be able to make a financial living off of being an artist, which is very difficult to do. And to know that there is a place for me in this world as an artist. And my career has taken me to this point where I come to Patio and I say, okay, I'm not cold anymore. I have all these fantastic worldly traveled people here. And looking at this, I say, this is where I want to live, so I'm going to make Patio my home. And I'm very happy about that. So at this point in my time, I would like to just do one thing, if I could, please. Oh, I still have this picture of me up there, which is probably not the best. So I have to ask myself all the time, who am I asked me and you? Well, I sort of summarized it this way. I'm an artist, a poet, a seeker, a bohemian, a musician, music producer, a beatnik, a Generation Walker, and everybody would like to know that one, but I'll explain it later. A kook, a techie, a geek, a procrastinator, and a theorist, a ponderer, I think. So this is the question that I asked of myself, who am I? Now,
say that I'm only a fool, and now I'm running
tell you a little bit about the song. I put this song as a representative example of some of my work. This song was #1 in 5 countries. It went on a show called Dog the Bounty Hunter as the theme song. And it was played in over 900 radio stations worldwide. And it had a good run for a while. And as part of, I've had a number of successes as far as my musical career is concerned. I produced over 150 artists. And some of the things that I've been working on musically over my career was, I guess it was a highlight of my career, being able to actually say that it was #1 in 5 countries, which was quite unexpected, actually. So this was just a very small portion of the work that I've done in the music business. And when we take a look at the number of co-writes that I have, I've written with other people 75 different co-write songs. Some of them haven't achieved the type of success that, but they are co-writes, and they are out there, they are musically out there. But another thing that I've been involved in over the years is co-writing musicals. Now, this latest iteration of musicals that I'm writing is called Age of Awakening. This is one of 5 musicals that I've co-written. And just a little bit later, I'll explain the concept of Age of Awakening. But at this point in time, it was a very interesting juncture in my life, where I was able to explore new avenues as far as a songwriter, as far as a writer was concerned, to be able to put together some of the ideas and concepts that I've been developing over the years. So, some of the videos that I've worked on, 200 plus video experiences, everything from music videos to documentaries. Part of this I'll show you afterwards. And usual video advertisements. That is a part of what I've been doing musically, creatively. We're flying the British flag here today. This was shot in Montserrat.
The idea about recording an album in Montserrat came about after I'd written this song called Dancing with Ghosts. And the idea of the song was about revisiting old friends and old places from the past. And I just watched this documentary about Sir George Martin, and it occurred to me that all these great albums from the 1970s and 1980s, with artists like the Police, Dire Straits, the Rolling Stones and Paul McCartney, were all recorded here. So I thought coming here would be like the ultimate rock and roll dancing with ghosts. Very often from the locals, it's been amazing. They're actually really proud of their unique iconic status. And they're all really aware that we're here. We've had a lot of support from the government too. And both the Premier and the Governor have both come down to the studio to visit to see what we're doing.
Well, it's just such a moving event, really. It's historic, it's meaningful for Montserrat.
It's interesting.
The old air studios were all those great albums recorded. Bit of a sad affair now. It's just a derelict building. And unfortunately, completely insignificant rock and roll recording. At the moment, there's no ferry between McIsaac and Montserrat. So what we have to do with the amplifiers and the musical equipment is get it in Miami and get it shipped over here. And what we're doing is leaving it over here for the locals. Hopefully I'll help build some of the musical heritage of the island, and also for anybody else who wants to follow in our footsteps and record it.
because we do festival every year. That would be very central to these guys because sometimes they don't have enough instruments, they don't have all these things. They'd be good. It'd be really good.
We came over earlier in the year to try and find somewhere where they could record, and we were staying in Sir George Martin's old house, Alderston House. And after spending a week looking for somewhere suitable to record it, we discovered that in the basement of his house was the old radio station, which made a perfect small recording studio. One thing about coming all the way to the Caribbean to record an album is you don't want to come all this way and then record part of rubbish. So everybody's actually very, very focused. At the moment, we're actually ahead of schedule. And the other thing to remember is the last international album to record it on the island was the Rolling Stones' Steel Wheels album. And you want to be able to follow that, don't you? The reason nobody's recorded here since 1989, that year, Hurricane Hugo hit the island. And then, a few years later, the volcano erupted. And a lot of people have been saying to us, you're going to be the third natural disaster to hit the island. Away, 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 feeling up, up, up.
This is very interesting because this was a documentary we did for BBC. And the second part of the documentary was the life story of Sir George Martin, which is held right now by the family and the estate of George Martin and can't be released until all of the things are sorted out within inside of his estate. I was very fortunate because I actually had a chance to stay in Sir George Harrison's bedroom for 3 weeks. So I was sleeping with George, God love you, past dead, George Harrison and I shared the same bed. So it was a very unique experience because the people of Montserrat have experienced so much with all of the natural disasters that they've encountered. And for us bringing this project, and I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. John Otway or not, but John Otway has been a very, let's call it, big star in England for many, many years. And it was such a pleasure to work with John and to bring his album to fruition. And I have to admit, out of all my experiences in doing video and video documentaries and things like that, this was one of the most unique experiences I think I've ever done. And when I take a look at this in retrospect, I'm actually coming back to it and I'm saying, the people of Montserrat were so interested with all of the natural disasters that they've experienced and all of the things, the resilience that they have. It's just amazing. But the second part of this documentary, now this will be released as soon as the Sir George Martin's estate will be finalized. So this was just part one of the documentary, which was issued by BBC One. And it was a very interesting juncture in my life, I have to admit. Some of the things that I've written over the years as a songwriter is I've dabbled in poetry. And one time, a friend of mine said, you should submit this poem to the International Library of Poetry. So I said, okay. So I get this notice back, I guess about 2 months later, and says, well, your poem has been submitted and is under consideration, and you were the finalist. So about a month later, I get this letter in the mail saying, please come to Washington, D.C. and your trip is paid. And I said, okay, that's good. And so I get there, and then I was up against 2 other finalists. And then I realized that I had actually won International Poet of the Year. And this was the poem that was submitted. And it's called White Night. And I am not your white knight. I am no hero. No savior to thee. I am just a man you'll see. But you give chills on my neck, and it makes me smile. But my bones gotta move, and my skin's gotta breathe. I pick up my phone, and you sound relieved. I am not your white knight. I am no hero, no savior to thee. I am just a man you'll see. I am like a love-struck Romeo waiting at your window. And you'll still listen to me. And you still want more. I am not your white knight. I am no hero, no savior to thee. I am just a man you'll see. I was very flattered to receive this award. As you can well imagine, it was totally unexpected. But this is another piece of poetry that I've written, and it's received a bit of accolades over the years, written up in a few books and things like that. But this is just a very small example of some of the poetry that I've written in conjunction with over 150 songs. So, one of the things which has led me to this juncture in my life, it's called Age of Awakening. My partner and I, my co-writer for this musical, his name is Chris Burkett. He sold 100 million records, everything including Sinead O'Connor, Nothing Compares to You, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, et cetera, et cetera. I could go on with the names of people that he's worked with, produced, et cetera. So him and I have collaborated, and writing this, we're in the final throes of finishing off the musical. The musical is part and parcel of what we have for our foundation, which is called the Age of Awakening. And what our foundation does is we actually go to remote locations in the world, and we find musicians that are deserving. They're well deserving. They just have no means in order to get their music out to the people. So what our foundation does is we create a vehicle where we pay for the recording, we pay for the marketing, we pay for all of the things to actually get their music to the marketplace. One of the first projects that we did was in Namibia, where it was an AIDS orphanage. And we decided to go there because they had this beautiful choir. And we said, okay, let's record them. Part of our experience was to take the recording and bring it back to England. And with the Harry Potter choir, if anybody's familiar with the Harry Potter choir, they're a very large foundation in England, and they do fabulous work. And they decided to collaborate with us and create the song, which went on to become a very big hit. From the proceeds of that music, we were able to dig 2 wells, build a school, and to buy 120 goats. These goats are now, the goat farm is about 3,000 goats that they have in their farm. They're probably one of the richest school AIDS orphanages in all of Namibia. And it's been quite a success story as far as, sustainability. And our projects are based upon sustainability. I mean to say that when we work with artists, such as in Mexico, one of the projects I did in Cozumel was to work with a number of musical artists in Cozumel. And we were able to build a school that has art and music. So what we've done in this collaboration with the Mexican people was be able to create a sustainable environment where the teachers are paid, and anything that's produced that they sell to the cruise markets, specifically in Cozumel, everything goes back into that environment to the school. So fully sustainable. And one of the other projects we did was in Sao Paulo, Brazil. That has since gone on to be a very successful school and self-sustaining. And that's one of the concepts for our foundation. So essentially we say that it's art for social change. Our purpose is to create multimedia projects for international artists to represent the music of their culture, to provide a sustainable environment where the artist contributes to the community by the financing of wells, schools, agriculture, art and music programs. I'm not here soliciting donations, but one of the things that we find is that the projects that we're involved in are very fulfilling to us because we see the end result of our projects. And very, very happy with that. But the musical is a culmination of what we're doing with our foundation. And the foundation is practicing change, initiating change, an age of awakening where we are awakening to self-preservation. And when I say self-preservation, I mean to say that we are all becoming more aware of what's happening as a socially responsible organization of people. How we affect change is very important. And that we do with music, which I find that music is one thing that can make people change. And I'm very, very happy to be part of that. And we expect our musical to be finished up within, well, we're in the last rewrite of it. So we're hoping within 6 months. And we're looking at a worldwide release for this musical. So, I forget that I actually have this in my hands here. Some of the art that I've created, this is a very small representative example. I've dabbled in many different forms of art. I keep coming back to acrylics. This is an acrylic piece that I've created. And as an artist, and I use that term loosely, because I feel the true artist sits there and creates art all day long. Well, I create art all day long, but it doesn't have to be paintings. I create it through my music, I create it through my writing, I create it through a number of different mediums, but this is just a small example of the type of work that I've done as far as my artistic career is concerned. So, you know, hopefully today I've given you a little bit of insight as to who am I? And I really appreciate the time that I've had here with you today. Is there any questions that anybody has of me today? A fellow, yes, hello, hi.
Fellow Canadian, hi.
Hi, which part of Canada are you from?
Calgary.
Calgary?
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad.
So do you play any musical instruments yourself?
Yes, I do. I play guitar.
Okay.
And I try to be a singer, but I guess I do work with a number of local bands here. As a matter of fact, I just co-wrote a song with the name of a gentleman by the name of Jason Camilo. I don't know if perhaps he's a Filipino guy, short Filipino guy. He's, yeah, of course, Jason's been in the community for a long time. I just did a video with him, and I just co-wrote a song with him. We're gonna have that released within about 2 weeks. So, and I'm working with a couple of other musicians here in Thailand to create some music and create some video. Anybody else?
Hey, thanks so much. That first song, Run, 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 was very catchy. Did you write the words and the music, or just the words?
Well, I wrote the words and I co-wrote the music with another gentleman, yes.
Play some more.
I do have some more, but we don't have it put together here today. It was just to give a very small representative example of the type of work that I do. Anybody else have any more questions? Okay. Ryan has a question.
Can you tell us something about the plot? And I know that of the musical Age of Awakening, and also I think you're going to be doing something technologically innovative with that musical as well.
Yes, one of the things that I've been exploring is creating 3D imagery that is so lifelike. And I'm working with a group out of Baltimore, Maryland, where we do 3D scanning of people in costume or different period attire, because part of our musical, it has a whole bunch of different junctures through time that explains how we as people are evolving to the Age of Awakening. And one of the things that we've been working on is to create these 3D images where not only where we actually have live artists on stage with us, but we actually have 3D imagery which is projected along with the live artists on the stage. So it's quite a unique concept, and we're still working on a few of the details. But I think we're pretty close. We're actually pretty close right now. And we feel that there's I don't know if anybody's actually seen it, but they did a representative example about 4 years ago, Michael Jackson. Has anybody seen that one? Where they actually projected Michael Jackson in 3D image on the screen. It's very interesting because they made it look so real that it was actually Michael Jackson standing on it. And when I seen this, I went, wow, that's pretty darn interesting. So I got in contact with the company. I said, here's my concept. I'd like to see if we can explore this. And they were just absolutely enthused by the overall concept. And they decided to work with us on that. So, is that, yeah. Yes.
Get on stage and interview you. So you said you were working with some Thai artists?
Yes.
What sort of music are they developing, and what part of Thailand, and what?
Well, actually,
how did you come to choose those?
Well, I think we choose each other. You know, and this is like, for instance, Jason and I, one day I heard him playing, and I went, wow, this guy has a unique talent. He's just absolutely fantastically talented. And I introduced myself to him, and then he found out a little bit about my background and whatnot, so I ended up shooting a video for him. And at one of the more local places called the Sandbar. I guess people have been there before? Raise your hand, yes? Okay. So anyways, I ended up shooting this video for Jason at the Sandbar. And he found out that I was a songwriter. And I said, I've got an idea for a song for you. And he said, okay, let's hear it. So I gave him the idea for the song, and since then we've been working on the song and hope to have it finished within about 2 weeks' time. And then I'm working with another gentleman in Bangkok, for instance, and it's the same type of thing. I heard him playing and I went, wow, this guy's fantastic. I'll see if I can do some work with him. And so he was very interested, but right now it's a timing type of thing where we've put it on a back burner, but it's still there. I've written the lyrics for the song, and he's working on the composition side. And we'll do a video, of course, to do that with also. Yes.
I think you were going to go over with Jason and Phil in the Philippines as well at one stage.
Yeah, that's part of our concept to do the video. It's about leaving home. The concept is for the video is about somebody having to leave home, and we all left home because we're all here, right? So.
No, we found our home here.
Well, you know, it touches a real sensitive spot with a lot of people because we all had to leave home. We leave something behind. We leave family behind. We leave memories behind. And when I wrote the song, it was, a lot of that was in my mind. And when I presented it to Jason, he went, yes, let's do that. So the concept of him actually having to leave the Philippines and leaving his family, leaving his homeland, and coming to find a new life in a totally different land was where we got the idea to actually do the song from.
And just harking back to the musical, in 17 words or less, what is the musical about? Because it sounded like it involved past lives and stuff when you were explaining.
It is. It's a journey of how lovers find each other during different epochs of time. And I'm not suggesting that there is necessarily reincarnation involved, but it does have little sprinklings of reincarnation in there. It's where star-crossed lovers find each other at different junctures in time, epochs of time, where there's social strife or there's something happening with wars or that type of thing, and they find each other again, and they keep finding each other. So that's one of the things that I looked at in developing the concept for the musical. And so the songs were very easy to write. So there are 22 songs that are associated. I was going to put some of them on here today because we have fully developed all of the music and the background music to go with that. And it's been about 3 years in the writing, because we find ourselves at a certain place in the writing of the musical where we say, oh, this doesn't look right. We actually have to go back and change it again and tweak it. We work it with a number of professionals where we they sit in front of us, they do the reading. We say, that's not right. We make the notes, go back and do a rewrite. And that's part of the process of writing musicals. I wish they only came like this, and you put one on the table, and 6 months later it's done. The last musical that I wrote before this was the story of Marvin Gaye. 5 years in the making. I met with the Marvin Gaye Foundation in Chicago, and they were so interested in my musical, it's called Life's Opera, that they actually granted me special dispensation to actually create a life story of Marvin Gaye, which they never allowed for anybody else to do, because his life has been so protected. And it was a very interesting twist that I did with the Marvin Gaye story. Most musicals are based upon, oh, this is the very first song that he wrote. Well, I started the other way around. I started with the last song he wrote, and actually the musical starts off with 3 gunshots, because his father had shot him in the head 3 times. I don't know if you know the life story of Marvin Gaye or not, but it was something that I said, I'm going to switch this around and take it from the very last point of his life and bring it all full circle to the very first song that he ever wrote. And apparently the Marvin Gaye Foundation found that very unique, and they decided to give me a license to reproduce his music. So I was very fortunate in that way. And it played in 22 cities in North America. It reached a certain point where it still should be going, but I had a very unfortunate situation happen. Our producer and essentially the person who was projecting our musical died very unfortunately right at the very start of when the musical was getting, pretty popular and stuff like that. So we decided to just end it at that point in time. But that was another part of the experience. Okay. Any last questions before I turn it over? I wish I would have had a guitar here today to play a few songs, but yes, absolutely. So we got a little.
And next week we've got